the way I was parented, the things that my pops in particular, the way he parented me, it was like all discipline. You know what I mean? Like it never was through the lens of love. It was never through the lens of empathy. It was never through the lens of even, I think, seeing me as a human. It was just through discipline. Do as I do, do as I say, don't do as I do. Because that would always be my thing for my pops. Because, he dealt with his own substance abuse. He would crack cocaine, you know what I mean? Yep. He didn't fry it, just did the powder, right? Right. And, he was in and out of rehab, but eventually he got his shit together. But he was selling drugs too. And that's what I used to do when I was younger. And so when he found out that I was doing it, he was, of course, on me not to do it. But I'm like, bro, you do it. Yeah. He's like, don't do as I do as I say. And it's just like, that don't work. Like, kids learn from your example and kids learn from your action. So, like, my parenting style is totally, totally different than the way I came up. So it's probably because I got girls, but also because I understand, like, that shit our parents was doing to us when we were younger, that shit don't work.
Don't fly.
No, beating the shit out of us. Like, I used to get beatings.
Don't work anymore.
Same.
We talk about this all the time.
I used to get beatings, like extension cords, go pick your own switch. All that shit don't work.
Damn.
That shit don't do nothing.
They ever lay out the weapons in front of you and have you choose? Belt, hanger.
That's what the picking your own switch was. Go pick your own switch. You know how cruel that is? Yeah. You want me to go outside and pick something for you to beat me with?
But now people are trying to bring it back. And I want to ask you this question really quick. What do you think about the idea of kids being taught not by their parents, but by TikTok? And right now there's a very specific person. George is already rolling his eyes. I want to ask you about this person. What would you think if you had a son and he was being taught by a man by the name of Andrew Tate?
I don't know who Andrew Tate is.
Okay, wow. Okay, well then we can skip this conversation.
But see, that's the thing too, right? When you're like my 14-year-old, I can be like, hey, that's Oprah. She's met these people, right? She's met the Oprahs of the world, and then she's like, oh yeah, I did a book report on her. But then it'll be like, oh, that's such and such from TikTok. That's such and such from YouTube. Like, I'm gonna go home right now and be like, yo, you know who Andy Tate is or whoever? And she's gonna be like, oh yeah, I know who that is.
She will. So really quickly, he's basically a guy that's trying to bring back that old school style of male alpha nature and just, everybody being born to be a killer and born to be a fucking workhorse and putting aside all of the thoughts about, mental health and all that kind of stuff and kind of bringing us back to a 1940s, 1950s mindset.
Yeah, who hurt him?
Who hurt him? That's the question.
Yeah, who hurt? I don't know him, but who hurt him? Like, he sounds like he's clearly still dealing with some things he hasn't, unpacked.
It's a good question. He talks a lot about in his stuff about the importance of or the idea of the father not being involved and that being an okay thing. So the dad just not being out working, traveling, making money, not being in the child's life.
That's some bullshit. Like, listen, man, the first time I ever cried in therapy was because of daddy issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, daddies fuck us up more than anybody because that's the first man that we really want validation from. Like, we live in an era that's constantly seeking validation now through social media. They want it from strangers, but as men, that's our first person we see that we want to stamp us, to give us that cosign. So when he doesn't give us that, like, that shit'll fuck with you when you get older. You know what I mean? So I realized when I got older, like, that a lot of the issues that I had came from issues with my pops. That's why I love on Kendrick's album, he got that song,
Father Issues.
Is it called Father Issues?
I'm pretty sure it is, but
Family Issue? It's something.
On the new shit on Steppers?
Yeah, it's that I've never amazed. I think it's the most important hip hop album of all time. But I've never heard a man unpack issues with his father like that on a record. You know what I mean? And I was like, I was glad that he did that because a lot of us got issues with our pops that we don't talk about.
Isn't it wild how like the thought of your dad telling you that he's proud of you is like such a fucking meaningful moment.
Man.
Like it's like you hear it from your mom, you hear it from your auntie. But when your dad says, yo, I just want to let you know, I want to tell you that I'm proud of you, bro. It's like everything inside of you, that child just like breaks down for a second.
That's all you want. Like that's literally all you want. If I would have got that when I was young, that shit would have saved me a lot. Like I remember when my pops was cheating on my mom and I confronted him about it. And I'm like, yo, you out here cheating on mom? I was like 17 at the time. He looked at me and he goes, oh, you only got one girlfriend? He goes, when you get older, you'll understand.
He shamed you.
Yeah, right? So in my mind, I'm like,
oh my God.
how the fuck do I only got one girl?
I'm a pussy.
Exactly. No, that was, I promise you, that was my mind state.
Oh,
so
man.
it took me a long time. I'm talking about.
He hit you with a reverse.
What a thug.
Oh,
He goes,
No.
oh, you only have one girlfriend? Went like this, damn.
So from 17 to about 35,
Okay.
You just snitched on yourself, bro.
My man was
You just
fucking.
snitched on yourself.
Oh no, my wife knows. And I've told you, I've said that before. Like, you know what I mean? Because I have no problem sharing that with people because I want people to learn from my mistakes. You know what I mean? And plus, I'm not an expert at anything. So if I don't talk about me, I don't have shit to talk about. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like, yes, from 17 to 35, I had that mindset.
Yeah.
You know, being with one woman was not what I was supposed to be doing. You know, and you felt it internally. You felt the conflict, right? Because you're like, I know this isn't right.
Yeah.
I know that I shouldn't be doing this. I know I'm breaking her heart, blah, blah, blah. But my pop said, you know what I mean? And then you get older and your pops tells you, the worst thing I ever did was leave your mom.
Oh,
Like, you know what I mean?
No.
You know?
You're like, Dad, I structured my life around one thing you said when I was a kid. It's so crazy how that works.
Damn, you
Exactly.
should have just looked at him and been like, damn, your girl left you.
No, they still together though. Yeah, he's still. So that'll make you think too. It's like, well, damn, maybe him and my mom, they ran their course, and you know, he ended up with another woman, and they've been together ever since. So it's like, clearly that was meant to be, right?
That scares me. It actually terrifies me. The idea of being a father and doing or saying something that, you know, to me is just the way I live. It's just my lifestyle. But the way that a kid who is absorbing life and processing information, and then it's going to affect how they live theirs.
Yes.
The smallest thing can have the craziest, like, cataclysmic evolution.
Butterfly effect.
Man.
It's insane, man. Like,
Man.
like stuff from childhood still haunts Jake specifically. Like till this day, it's part of the reason why he's my brother, who you guys had on the show, I believe.
Yeah, we had Jake on Breakfast Club back in the day. Yeah.
Way back
Yeah,
when.
yeah.
That was crazy. But part of the reason he's so fiery, right, is because of these like little impetus events that happened when he was a kid from my dad. You know, my dad is he's a character, and he's bold, he's stoic, he's headstrong, you know, like real man's man. Imagine a lumberjack. Like he works for me, actually. He's my groundskeeper at my ranch. We stuck him in a mountain basin because he doesn't quite fit in society.
Not groundskeeper. That's not his title.
He doesn't fit in. like
He's like the CEO.
I love you, Dad. I love you, Dad. He's a CEO
of the ranch. That's what I'm saying. Don't groundskeeper him. He's not.
Groundskeeper's a great title.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but he's when it's not your job. GP runs the show there. He manages a lot.
You call him the CEO of Acres.
He's the CRO.
CEO of Acres.
CEO of Acres.
Yes. But I see a lot of things in me that he has that I like and that I want, that, you know, shaped who I am. I attribute all my successes to the work ethic my dad instilled in me. But I also see a lot of stuff in him that I have that I don't like.
That's the mind fuck. That's
you know?
what it is.
So like, is it the therapy that helped you find those parts of your dad that you wanted to emulate, but also amend the parts of yourself that you didn't like that were becoming, you know, not so nice.
Yeah, the therapy helped me to give myself grace and give him grace. Because when I started going to therapy and I started talking about it and I wrote about it in my second book was called Shook One: Anxiety Playing Tricks on Me, right? And I literally wrote that book, and it was literally just me talking about everything that I was learning in therapy, right? And I brought in a doctor, Dr. Ish Major, to give like these clinical correlations to the things that I was discussing. And so when I put that book out, I remember it was Thanksgiving of 2018. And my pops called me. I was home in Moncks Corner, South Carolina for Thanksgiving. My pops calls me and he's like, yo, I was reading your book, man. He was like, man, you know, I dealt up with a lot of that stuff too, you know, anxiety and depression. And, you know, I was on 10 to 12 different medications throughout my life. I tried to kill myself back in the day. And he was like, you know, they just started giving me a check. Like he's been getting a check from the state of South Carolina, like they call it a crazy check, right? And I was like, damn. And I remember asking my mom, like, yo, you know, Pops was going through all of this. And she was like, I just thought he was playing crazy to get a check. Like, I didn't know that he was actually, you know, dealing with these issues. And that same week, I had a cousin complete suicide. And he had tried to complete suicide like 3 times prior to that. 4th time, he actually completed it. So I guess that caused my pops to have this conversation with me about his own mental health issues that he's been dealing with his whole life. So when I realized that, I just gave him grace because he's just a human at the end of the day. So we talk about not reducing people to their worst mistakes. We talk about not reducing people to their worst moments. Why would I do that to my parent? You know what I mean? Like he was a human just like I was a human. That wasn't the whole totality of him. And when he was coming up trying to raise me, he was dealing with all his own shit and just trying to do the best he could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I used to have to go visit my pops in rehab. You know what I mean? Like I remember my pops talking about the devil's after him and him sleeping with a gun and a knife by his nightstand because he thought that the devil was coming to get him in the night. But he was just dealing with anxiety, you know? And then he was dealing with substance abuse to try to escape from that. So it's like it made me give him more grace. That's it.